12, 14-hour days, 6, maybe even 7 days a week sometimes. Keep everything, their cards close to their chest, so to speak. And they don't do a lot of vocalizing their feelings, but I got some verbal warnings for speaking too much Japanese to the students. Try to do my best to keep my problems to myself at work. I mean, when I was growing up, I was one of those cringy atheists where it was like, oh, only weak people believe in, God and stuff like that.
I was the same way. Everybody's got a God-shaped hole inside of them.
And when they lack a clear story, that's when you see empires fall. That's when you see society just collapse. When a lot of people became irreligious or even atheist, that's when you would see a lot of problems start to arise. The story of Jesus just makes sense. I'm like, that's a hell of a story right there. And how would Jesus view some of my actions?
It's so sad because you're capable. I think every single person, if you do the work, if you reflect on what you truly want, you will find that person, or you will find your role eventually.
The furry subreddit?
Yeah, it's not because I'm a furry. It's just entertaining,
Advin just admitted he was a furry.
I'm a furry. Hello, you beautiful people. Welcome back to the Long-Term Podcast. I'm your host, Advin Villa. Today, we have a University of Alberta Education alumni. He taught for 1 year in Japan, then 1 year in Calgary as a music teacher, and he also just got married to a wonderful woman, Devin Dohery. We will discuss Japan, spirituality, and marriage. Devin Doherty is a phenomenal person, and he and I work together right now. We have some crazy discussions at work, and it's just deep, packed with meaning. He is a very well-spoken person, and goes about life with honesty, and he's a deep thinker. I always see him reading a ton of books during his breaks, and he is really, really rooted in his faith, and I'm so thankful to be his friend. And I think for you guys that lack purpose, that maybe you want to teach in Japan one day, want to explore different cultures, this podcast is for you. I am excited for you guys to listen to this. Everybody, welcome Devin Doherty. All right, man. Welcome to the Long-Term Podcast.
It's good to be here.
Yeah. Devin Doherty, everyone.
Hello.
So yeah, man, what was the biggest cultural difference you experienced when you first moved to Japan, and how did you adapt to it?
That's a really good question, Advin. So for the audience, I went to Japan for about a year and taught English there.
That was 2 years.
Oh, just 1 year. Just 1 year. Yeah,
okay.
yeah. I would have done 2, but life had other plans for me.
Yeah.
And the biggest culture shock though was probably how stoic the average person in Japan is. They kind of like keep their cards close to their chest, so to speak. And they don't do a lot of vocalizing their feelings, which is good sometimes and not so good other times. But as a whole, I really respected it, and I thought it was really cool. Also, it's a very clean place. You don't see garbage everywhere like you do here sometimes.
Yeah, that's what I've heard, man.
Oh, yeah.
I heard that you could go miles on miles and not find a single garbage can, versus here, you'll see one every other corner.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. I mean, when you think of Tokyo, you're probably visualizing Shinjuku or Shibuya, which are like the two big cities within Tokyo. Because Tokyo is actually a prefecture. It's not a actual city. It's not the city itself. There's actually several cities within Tokyo, and Shibuya and Shinjuku are like some of the most densely populated places in the world. Like millions of people in the size of like a few neighborhoods in Edmonton. It's that big in terms of population size, and you wouldn't see garbage at all. You might see some cigarette butts, but you would not see like garbage. You'd expect a lot more garbage for the amount of people in such a small space. Yeah.
Yeah. It's a lot of discipline, and it's a great system they got going on. Seems to be working.
Well, I think the biggest reason is just the culture in general. Like they take a lot of pride in taking care of the land and taking care of the country itself and the infrastructure. So I heard a really good quote once that like Japan has a shame culture, but the rest of the West has a guilt culture, which means that like in Japan, they won't do something because they'll feel shame for even thinking about doing something. But in Canada or the US, you'll do something and then feel guilty about it later. So, for example, on the way here, actually, I saw some D-bag throw his garbage out his window, like his Dairy Queen cup.
Wow.
Yeah, he just threw it out. It was on the Yellowhead. He just threw it out the window. Just instead of keeping it in his car and throwing it away, he decided, I'm just going to make the place a little bit worse by throwing his garbage out the window. Yeah, and maybe if he was a reasonable person, he'd feel guilty about it after doing it, but he already did the stupid action. But in Japan, like, before you would throw something out your window, you'd think about how your community would view you if you threw garbage out your window, or how your loved ones would view you, or how your boss would view you, things like that. So the shame versus guilt, does that make sense?
Yeah, well, shame is, it's just, they may not necessarily point a finger at you, but it's kind of the why would they do that? It's kind of just that being talked about versus being called out on, and I feel like that lingering ambient kind of everyone's talking about you is a lot more salient when it comes to them versus like for us, when we see a D-bag, we point it out, right? We're like, hey, don't do that. Yeah. Versus for them, they won't necessarily call you out, but it seems like it's a lot heavier in their system.
Oh, for sure.
Yeah. And it's a lot, people talk about it more, I guess.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. And like when people talk in Japan, they talk to everybody. So you do something, even if you're living in a big city like Tokyo, like there's a reasonable chance that if you do something really stupid, someone will hear about it. Yeah. Yeah, and it's especially true in smaller cities, of course, in Japan, but I think there's something to learn from that because, I mean, for starters, it's cleaner in Japan versus here. Like, I mean, you drive around any part of Edmonton, you're going to see some garbage on the floor. And then also, in general, people are a lot more polite. I mean, there's a coldness to the politeness in Japan, I felt, while I was there. But I still appreciated the default was to be polite.
It's kind of like suppressed, maybe, right? Maybe like they... Yeah, because going back to what you said about how they don't show as much emotion, right? And how did you go about finding that? Like, was it because you felt like they were feeling something, but they just didn't express it?
It took some getting used to initially because, for example, in the Japanese language, there's no way of asking how someone's doing, like on an emotional level. You can ask Genki desu ka, but that literally just means, are you healthy? Like, how are you physically feeling? There's actually no way to really ask somebody how they're like emotionally doing. There are certain ways you can ask that, but it's usually reserved for loved ones, like a partner or a child or a family member or maybe a very, very close friend. But they don't just like casually ask like how you feeling. I mean, every morning at ATS, you're always like, Devin, how's your morning going? Or I ask you, Advin, how was your night or something like that. Yeah. That is weird in Japan. So that was really interesting for me. But I learned to kind of like understand why they did it. Because at the end of the day, it's like they view the workspace as the workspace and not a place to just socialize like casually. Now, the drinking parties is where everyone would open up. There was lots of drinking parties and it was a good time.
Oh, that sake.
Oh, lots of sake. Yeah.
Dude, that's actually something new to me. I would have expected the opposite. I would have expected them to have more of an emotional connection or to their language even, because when I'm watching anime, I don't know if you watch anime. Of course, a little bit. There's so many characters are just so emotional. Like they're so expressive. They yell a lot. And Demon Slayer, I don't know if you've watched Demon Slayer.
I've seen the first season.
Okay, there's this guy, right, with the Zenitsu, something like that, the blonde guy. Okay. And he's like crying and he's very expressive about he doesn't want to go on the hunt. And then there's the main character, I forget his name. He's very passionate. He's always talking about his emotions, about the struggle, right? So within the culture, it's not like that at all, hey?
They keep that reserved really for very specific situations.
Maybe because they're so suppressed that like
I wouldn't necessarily say it's suppressed. I wouldn't describe it as a suppression. I would say you used the word discipline earlier, and I think that's a lot more accurate because people would show emotions for sure. When I was working with teachers, there was a genuine care and love that the teachers had for their students and the success of their students. And also like every so often you would see a moment of just like pure joy among someone for whatever reason it was. There was one boy who I was tutoring while I was in Japan who got into the university he wanted. He was so happy. But the thing is, in Japanese society, from what I was told by people, you try to like minimize how much you flaunt your happiness because it's seen as almost being like rude to show off too much, versus in a lot of Western places, like you'll gladly brag and show off to everybody, which is not necessarily a bad thing. Like I think it's more than fine to be proud of something that's going on in your life that's awesome. But in Japan, they just view it differently. They don't really view, they view it as boasting, and like they view that as rude. It's the default is typically it's rude. One of my coworkers, his daughter got married, and I found out about it like 2 months later because he didn't tell anybody until he mentioned it in passing to one of my coworkers, and I overheard, and I said, "Oh, congratulations about your daughter getting married. That's awesome." And he was like very polite, and he was like, "Oh, arigato gozaimasu. Like, thank you for saying that." But I could tell he was a little uncomfortable that I brought it up because it's just not a thing you really do. Like, you don't really mention that kind of stuff in Japan. It's very interesting. Yeah.
That's so interesting, man.
But if they drink, though, that's when things get real. Yeah.
So what's that quote again? Where it's like drunk state, sober thoughts, something like that?
I think that's fair for Japan. Yeah.
Yeah, man. It's crazy just how much you learn within a year in a country, hey?
It's pretty cool.
They say that like you can spend 10 years learning a language, like just within an environment, classroom setting, test taking, but you'll learn so much more being submerged within the country. Now, can you tell me about your experience about language learning and like, because I know you studied Japanese before traveling there, right? You were trying to prepare.
You remember.
I remember that. Yeah, but like it's so much more different.
Oh my gosh,
within the country.
Yeah, it's crazy. Yeah. So for the people that might not be familiar with the Japanese language, there's actually 3 alphabets they use. They have katakana, kanji, and then hiragana. Hiragana and katakana are like specific to Japan, and there's only I believe there's like 3 or 4 dozen between the two of them. But kanji is like the Japanese symbols, or sorry, the Chinese symbols that you would see in China, Taiwan, or Japan. And they're like, there's thousands of them. So reading Japanese is just so difficult. Like I never got to an adequate level at reading Japanese. I learned to memorize as many kanji as I could. I memorized about 150 to 200, and I would like recognize patterns because they're kind of like just, it's like hieroglyphics to me, to be honest with you, because that's kind of what it is to a lot of people who aren't used to it. That's what it was described as to me by a lot of different foreigners that were trying to learn the language. But I found speaking Japanese a little bit easier because, like, you know, when you're trying to learn a language, you learn like, where is the bathroom? Tore wa doko desu ka? You learn about like asking where the train station is, or you learn like please and thank you and stuff like that. But I was, since I was only there for a year, and I found that a lot of people just wanted to speak English to me. I actually didn't have, because I was in Tokyo, so like everyone I think was a little bit more familiar with English speakers because there's so much tourism. I found that I didn't have as many opportunities just to speak Japanese.
Okay.
Just because like they would be very modest and not want to speak English right away. But as soon as I tried speaking Japanese, they would just switch to English. Probably because I was terrible at speaking Japanese and they just didn't want me to embarrass myself.
Man, this guy. You should have been like, I'm trying to learn.
I did that. And they kept being like, oh, that's so good. That's so good. Sugoi. But then they just started speaking English to me, which was really funny. And then also at my job, though, I was specifically told not to speak Japanese to the students because I was an English teacher and I was supposed to be like an English representative, I guess, like, you know, give them as many opportunities to speak English as possible. So like I didn't get in like trouble, but I got some verbal warnings for speaking too much Japanese to the students because they thought that was like not appropriate for what my job was supposed to be. Because I was an English teacher and I was an English tutor. So, the English teacher from an English speaking country shouldn't be speaking Japanese.
Fair enough. They took you aside and be like, hey, too much Japanese.
That's basically what happened, but they were very polite about it. There was no aggression. They were just like, hey, listen, like, we understand that you're trying to learn the language and we really think that's awesome, but like the students will just speak Japanese to you, and that's not why you're here. And I was like, okay, I don't want to, I don't want to get in any trouble, you know?
Yeah,
so
fair. Don't want to get deported.
oh god, they will deport you if you break any rules. So yeah.
Fair enough. So how did teaching in Japan shape your perspective on education and learning?
Oh man, I learned that we do so many things wrong in Canada. Probably in a lot of the Western world, but we do so many things wrong. So in Japan, at least on the high school level, and in Tokyo specifically, I'm not sure if it's like this in every single prefecture or every part of the country. Although from what I heard, anecdotally, it sounds like that's the case. Every class is structured based off of merit. So what your score is from the previous year. So if you were an A average student, you would be put in one class, and then all the B average students, like students who were getting Bs consistently, they were put in one class. Then all the C students were put in another class, and then everything below Cs were put in like a class. Now you might be thinking like, oh, that sounds unequitable, which in a lot of ways it absolutely is. But what it ended up doing was it ended up like it had all of the hyper intelligent kids in one class, so they had like the best environment to succeed. Then it had all the kids that didn't really care in another class, and they can kind of just focus on other things and just get the passing grades so they can move on through high school. And we don't do that here. Here it's like that's actually illegal, and unless you're at a private school, public schools can't do that. Public and Catholic schools can't do that. That'd be seen as discrimination. But that's a thing they do in Japan. And I'll be honest with you, like I saw it in practice and it just made sense. Like I think the merit-based system made a lot of sense in Japan, and I saw a lot of positive outcomes from it. Then again, that was just my one school that I was at. But it just made so much sense to me. Like, yeah.
I mean, we have like 30-1, or actually, no, that's that's in the 10s.
That's high school.
20-2, yeah. 30-2.
Yeah.
Elementary, we don't really have a hierarchy. We just have, we just know who the smart kid is, and kind of everybody just gets thrown into the class with everybody else.
Now that's and that is a thing we do, absolutely. The difference in Japan is that you're just put in that class, because like in Canada you do choose your route. In some ways, like when I was in school, I opted to be in -2 math instead of -1 math. But in Japan, you wouldn't have that option. It would be like you're there, like you're in the -2 class, or you're in the -1
class. What if
class.
you're like an A student? Like, hey, I don't like being in this A class. I want to be with the C's.
That would probably just be a question that would never be posed. The kid would keep it to themselves and probably not tell anyone.
That's where all my friends are at.
That you see, they probably would just make time with their friends the other days. So in Japan, they also have a lot of extracurricular activities, but it's like they treat it like a job. So like the baseball team that I watched play a few times, they were practicing every single day, like for multiple hours after school. And then the kids also on top of that were studying. And it was every kid doing that. Like here, that does happen. Like there's sports teams here, of course, and there's kids that take academics very seriously. But it's not the default. In Japan, it was like 99.9% of kids did that.
Yeah, you pack the calendar, hey?
Oh yeah, like every day the kids are doing something. Even like the kids who are like in drama class or graphics design class, like they're doing like crazy cool things every day. And the craziest thing was I went to a school that was maybe like a little bit middle of the road in terms of like socioeconomic status and just general aptitude. Like it was a middle of the road to maybe a slightly above average for Tokyo. But the kids were just so driven and hardworking, and it was crazy.
That's phenomenal, man.
It was good. It was really good. And now, mind you, there's the drawbacks, of course. The kids were always tired. Like the kids were always exhausted. And that can come back to some other issues in Japan where like people are overworked there, like really overworked. I mean, like, I don't know about you, but I've been doing like ATS 10-hour shifts the last little bit, and I'm feeling it a bit tired.
You've been going hard, man.
Yeah, I've been feeling that. I've been doing,
dude.
Yeah, like 10-hour shifts, 5 days a week. But in Japan, you're thinking like that's like they would wish they would have that schedule. There, it's like 12, 14-hour days, 6, maybe even 7 days a week sometimes.
Yeah.
One of my coworkers, he's an awesome guy. He was originally in a private school system. Like he was a teacher at a private school in Japan. And we were talking about it once over a bottle of sake. And he told me how the reason he went to the public school system was because he wanted more days off. And which I thought was a little interesting because the teachers at that school maybe had 1 day off a week. So I asked him, like, what was it like before? And he was just describing his workload at his old school. And he said, he ended it with saying, and I only ever had 3 days off. And I was like, oh, like 3 days off in a year? That's crazy. And he'd been at that school for 5 years. I was like, 3 days off in a year? That's crazy. And he said, no, I only had 3 days off over the 5 years he was working at that private school. Which, when he said that, I felt very lucky, actually, to not have to be in that work culture. Yeah. Yeah, crazy. 3 days off. And he said one of the days that he had off was because his grandfather was in the hospital. And it's like, holy shit, that's insane. That is great. Sorry, I probably shouldn't swear in the podcast.
No, it's all right, man. It's fucking okay.
When he said that, that was crazy. And that's definitely the darker side of Japan, for sure.
Yeah, dude. You hear about all these people just like jumping off of buildings, right? Because they're so lethargic. It's sad. They're sucked out of joy. I heard it's the same thing in Korea.
Yeah, I saw someone jump on a train track in Japan.
Wow.
Yeah, it was crazy. I saw, like, I didn't see the actual act of him. I'm assuming it was a man, because on average it's men in Japan, just statistically. This person jumped off onto the train track. I saw the immediate aftermath. I didn't see the actual act of this person jumping off, but into the train tracks when the train came. But I saw the immediate aftermath, and that was shitty.
That's horrific.
Man. Yeah. That was kind of when I was like, okay, I really like Japan, but I think maybe it's time to get home.
Yeah, maybe it's time. You know, you don't work so much. It's not worth it. So, what's one thing from Japanese culture you've brought back and kept in your daily life?
Sorry, just drinking some water.
It's all good, bro.
That's a really good question. I think something that I brought back was trying to keep my try to do my best to keep my problems to myself at work. Like I try not to like gossip with people or like vent that often to people at work, because that was a thing I saw in Japan that I respected. Not that there's anything wrong with that, of course, as long as you're doing it in a healthy way at work. Another thing I did was just there's a saying in Japan. It's and I might be butchering it, by the way. I'm going off of memory here. It's called ichigo ichi e, I believe is how it's pronounced, and it translates roughly to basically enjoy the little things. Like every moment is a fleeting moment, so appreciate it for what it is. And that's a thing I saw a lot in Japan. Like there would be people who would be overworked, but they would be really happy that they can take care of a houseplant, or they'd be really grateful that they get to go out for dinner with their family after work. You know, little things like that, or doing something different at work was considered a really cool thing, and just enjoying the little things. Because I feel like here in Canada, I notice a lot of people will complain about a lot of things that are pretty trivial in comparison to a lot of problems in the world. And not to say that there's anything wrong with, you know, being frustrated with the state of things in your life, but in Japan, I didn't see that ever in people. I only saw people trying their best and doing what they could to see joy in their lives, even if it wasn't the most ideal situation. That being said, though, people in Japan should not have to work as much. I think that's a fair thing to say, and I'm sure a lot of people in Japan would agree with me.
Yeah, well, it's in the little things, right, that matter. I mean, even in the world, like humans, like we believe that there's so much value in kind of succeeding and getting to the top echelons of, whether it be, you know, within your relationship, you want to have the hottest, most, you know, exuberant, most compatible partner. With the job, it needs to be flashy, making $100K per year.
Mm-hmm.
With your body, you need to be this muscled up, very healthy, very chiseled abs, you know, but this is not going to make you happy. You know what I mean? Like, all that stuff, all of success, doesn't equal happiness, right?
Yeah.
It doesn't make you fulfilled. Like, maybe it's great that you can maybe provide for your family and you can be a leader, but that won't necessarily make you more content. But what will make you content, it's focusing on the little things, right? It's, hey, that cup of coffee with a friend, or that little conversation we had, you know, that little hug, that laugh.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, those are the things that are worth kind of noting in our conscious, and to be cognizant of, because we got bogged down focusing too much on the big flashy kind of, when life isn't like that. It's all about the little habits every single day, right? Structure.
Yeah. I agree completely.
So did you connect well with the kids, with Japanese people? Did you what's that called? Do you think that you'll go back for another year?
I probably won't be going back to like work there anytime soon. I mean, I'm married now. I'm trying to start a life here, but will I go back to Japan before I die? Yes, I would love to go back to Japan before I die, for sure. And maybe, you know, if I'm like looking to retire, maybe the yen's doing pretty bad right now compared to the Canadian dollar. Maybe I'll buy some cheap property there and live there, you know, for my golden years with my wife. But yeah, I would love to go back. The short answer is yes, I would love to go back.
Could link up with PewDiePie?
Oh yeah, he's in Tokyo now. I forgot about that. That's crazy.
Did you see him?
No. I imagine he's in some like really high end like neighborhood with like a closed gate and everything.
Probably.
I was in like a suburb of a sleeper town that was like an hour from the main city.
Yeah. Did you feel safe?
Oh, it was great. It was great. I mean, because like I grew up on the north side of Edmonton. Are you familiar with the north side of Edmonton?
I'm scared of Edmonton.
You're scared of Edmonton? Well, you're a sheltered Sherwood Park kid. I mean, it's not that bad. Edmonton is not that bad.
Dude, I'm scared every time I walk there. Risk my life.
Well, you're just as the guy who goes to White Ave with a $4,000 camera.
That's why I'm telling you, I'm so scared. I'm so scared.
Oh, it's fine. But I grew up in North Edmonton, and since you don't know, the north side of Edmonton is referring to the northern. It could be referring to the northern part of the North Saskatchewan River, that side of the city on the northern part of the river, or it could be referring to a certain set of neighborhoods on the north end of Edmonton. And it's more working class, blue collar type work, a lot of immigrants, which is not a bad thing, but a lot of people who are like coming from poor places and just trying to establish themselves. So there's more crime, it seems. There's a lot of neighborhoods that are like that. So when I was growing up, my parents always said, never leave your car unlocked. Unless you're in a really bad area, then you leave your car unlocked, but then you don't leave anything of value inside. Because if someone wants into your car, they're just going to break your window. You might as well let them just open your door. Or it's like, you know, when I would walk home at night after hanging out with some friends, I'd have to like, you know, always have like my look over my shoulder in case someone's following me. Luckily, I've never had anything bad happen to me, but I've had friends that have been mugged and stuff like that in Edmonton. But in Japan, never a concern ever. Like I was never worried. And I'll be honest with you, the only times I ever felt on edge was when there was other foreigners around. Like, which I know is like, oh man, like that's brutal. Like I felt, am I becoming a xenophobe or something here?
You run into me in Japan, you're like,
no, I would like see another white guy and I'd be like, what the fuck are you doing here? And I just wouldn't know what's going on. And I'd be like, what is this guy doing?
Me, I don't feel really safe.
Yeah,
here,
exactly. But yeah, the Japan's crime rate is so low and it's wonderful. It's wonderful. You could walk home at night and feel safe. And mind you, I am a guy. Some of my female friends who were there to teach, they also said it felt really safe, but there are always moments when they're a little bit on edge, of course, but even like my female friends were like, oh, it was not even close to the same extent as it is in Canada, in terms of like always being on edge as a girl. So
yeah, dude, it's so foreign to me to not feel safe because I migrated here when I was 9, and yeah, I think that in the Philippines I've experienced all that, but I kind of just forgot. I pretty much just grew up here.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's the same way where in the Philippines it's like White Ave there every night. You know, it's just there's a lot of
bad
crime.
Parts of White Ave.
The bad parts of White Ave, but it's just people don't really we don't really notice it. Like there's a lot of snatchers, there's a lot of people that'll mug you, but
yeah,
it's not really getting in the way with people's ambitions or people's schooling, right? It's there, yes. Like there's a bit of a homeless problem in my area in the Philippines.
Where are you from in the Philippines again?
It's this place called Leyte in Ormoc City.
Ormoc City, is that in the south or the north part of the islands?
Visayas, somewhere there. Okay. I'm not sure, my geography is not that good.
Fair enough. Is it the main island though, like the big island?
I don't know.
Oh,
I don't
okay.
know. All I know is I booked a ticket there and I
Fair
travel
enough.
there.
Yeah, fair enough.
But yeah, coming here, it was just so profound. And I was just I peeked into the classroom and at the St. Teresa, the school that I went to in grade 3, and man, all these kids are so white and they're all saying please and thank you, and I'm like, pardon, like that mean? And so
What is this?
they go, what is this? And so like, why are they saying sorry to me? Pardon, like every sentence, pardon. I'm like, buddy, why are you trying to? It's just coming from a school where like everybody was bullying each other.
Oh, really?
In the Philippines.
Damn.
But yeah, and then kind of growing up in Sherwood Park, I forgot what it was like to feel unsafe, to like have to look over
Sherwood
my
Park's
shoulder.
a pretty cushy place.
Yeah, and then when I recently started going to Dwight Ave just to do the street interviews that I do, like I see just homeless people and people that are high on some coke or heroin or whatever.
There's some
they're
scary
on.
people in White Ave, that's just, for sure.
It makes me thankful that I'm a part of this community, and it makes me also feel, heavy that this is a reality for some people.
It's sad, yeah.
Yeah, it's sad. Like at one point, these were babies. These were just innocents right there, day one, day zero. But somewhere along the lines,
something bad happened, and now they're there.
Yeah.
Or many bad things, probably, for a lot of them, unfortunately.
I read Gavin Mate he's a physician in downtown Vancouver's where he's done most of his work.
That's where he is. Jeez, okay.
Yeah, he did a lot of work with troubled people, like very, very troubled people, like the very, very the worst parts of humanity when it comes to addiction and crime. And he talks about just their life and how bad they had it even before they were born. Like even like when they were in the stomach, their mom was already doing heroin. They already have like some sort of alcohol problem, and it's tough. And it's just going back to being thankful.
Yeah,
that
of course.
Like anybody that's listening to this podcast is probably has a good life.
Probably.
Family, right?
Yeah, if you got time to listen to podcasts, probably.
Yeah, if you have time to listen to Devin and I yap, good for you. Take some time to just be thankful for where you're at. Yeah. So when it comes to spirituality, like how do you define spirituality for yourself, and has that definition changed over time?
Yeah, a good transition there. Darker topic to spirituality. I like it. Well, I mean, when I was growing up, I was one of those cringy atheists where it was like, oh, only weak people believe in, God and stuff like that.
I was the same way.
Yeah, I remember you telling me about that. But as time went on and, life becomes more complicated as you grow up, I'm sure there's a lot of people who can agree with that. I kind of realized like my worldview was just basically nihilism. And I realized around my first year of university that nihilism is stupid, and not a good worldview to have, especially when you're young and you have so much life to live, and you live in a relatively safe country like Canada with a lot of opportunities. So I stopped trying to view the world in such a pessimistic light, but I never identified as like Christian or anything. For the audience, I'm Anglican. I converted to Anglicanism a couple months ago. Praise God. It was a long journey. I went through a lot of ups and downs. I identified as agnostic for a while. I was toying around with Buddhism like every good white guy does. Every white guy that smokes weed. I don't smoke weed anymore though. But it was actually Japan that really changed me. I know Devin's mentioning Japan again. I know, but when I was in Japan, that's where I did find God, I believe, and where I decided to embrace Jesus Christ as my Lord and Savior. there's just something about that place that just made me feel more in touch with spirituality, which is strange because I was in Tokyo, and if you've seen parts of Tokyo, it's like the most heathenistic place on earth. But there was also a lot of amazing parts of Japan and Tokyo that weren't like that, and even the parts that were heathenistic made me appreciate things like religion in a lot of ways. And yeah, I always carried around a Bible with me. One of my friends from high school gave me a Bible as a gift just because she was Pentecostal, and I mentioned in passing once that I was interested in reading the Bible, and like a good Christian, she like bought me a Bible without me even asking. It was like, take it, here you go. So I would bring that with me in Japan when I would go on like trips. I went to Okinawa and I brought it with me, and I would just read it a little bit. I would just read a little bit, like not every day, but most days. And I started realizing like, hey, some of this stuff actually makes a lot of sense. And then I started reading other things. I don't know if you know C.S. Lewis. Do you know who C.S. Lewis is? The Narnia guy?
Yeah.
Yes, Narnia, but he's also a very prominent Anglican theologian. You probably like some of his stuff if you haven't read his.
I love C.S. Lewis.
Oh, you've read
man.
some of his theological work?
I've heard of the different ideas he's had.
Oh, okay.
And I've watched Narnia.
Oh, yeah.
But it's on my list to be.
Oh,
to
for
read.
sure. If I could recommend one, I mean, Mere Christianity is like his really good one to dip your toes into. But he's got several really, really good ones. And I read one of his books. It was called, I believe it was Mere Christianity. One of his essays, at least, in Mere Christianity. And his argument basically was that like throughout all of history, humankind is what he's saying. He's not referring to just men, but man in general is always looking for some story to give them some purpose to pursue life to the fullest. And when they lack a clear story, that's when you see empires fall. That's when you see society just collapse. And he had a lot of relevant examples in the work, in the writing. He mentioned the state of Germany at the time because he wrote it in the 1920s. After the Great Depression, and although maybe it wasn't entirely accurate, but he's just saying like Germany has lost the story that it needed, and it's going to fill it up somehow. And it was before the Nazis took over, so C.S. Lewis maybe predicted the rise of the Nazis. Who knows? Because they didn't have God anymore. But there's a lot of things like that too. And I just kind of realized, like, I'm always kind of, when I was more cringy atheist, Devin, I was like, I kind of was always just looking for something to fill what felt like a hole. And I realized, like, the story of Jesus just makes sense. I'm like, that's a hell of a story right there. And that's the message is all just live your life the best you can and just love people. And I feel like that's a pretty solid story to live your life by. So, yeah. Sorry, that was a huge tangent. I don't even know if I answered the question.
You did. Arthur Brooks has this saying of everybody's got a God-shaped hole inside of them, and we can try to fill that hole with money, with girls, with sex, with weed, all this stuff.
Right? We both tried.
Yeah, money, like everything, and it'll never be enough.
Yeah,
never be enough unless you have God in your soul, filling that. It's powerful, man, and I think there's just so many people that talk about reaching the top echelons of success and still feeling empty.
Yeah.
But because life's not about the success, right? It's about your relationship with God and how can you be of service to people.
Absolutely.
I find when I'm thinking too much about myself, I feel miserable. When you get so individualistic, and that's kind of what the West preaches of, you do you go to university so you can get a nice house, so you can get a nice car, you can get some prestige.
It's about like being able to
lonely.
buy stuff. You notice that? Like just having things.
But in my culture, within the East, it's a lot more, why are you going to school? I'm going to school for my family, for my dad who's done a lot of sacrifices. I want to be able to give back, which of course there is a mindset here too. It's not everyone who's individualistic, right? I've met many people of different cultures, or even lots of Canadians that do have a message for other people. They go to work for other people. They are in service to Jesus, and they seem happier, man. They seem a lot more free. Yeah. versus the nihilists, the people that really subscribe to cynicism.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter how successful they are or where they are in the hierarchy.
Yeah.
There's always going to be hierarchy.
Oh, for sure.
Within humanity, right?
Yeah.
But they just seem unhappier. They just feel a lot disconnected, a lot lonelier. And this is from lots of my friends. This is from the people that I meet that I've gotten to really know. So
yeah.
And I have so many friends with different faiths and different values, and it seems to be the biggest predictor of life satisfaction and gratitude and agency is your belief in God or some sort of faith. It has to be something
to ground you.
Yeah. Something to that you are not alone, that to think bigger than yourself, that, hey, you are not alone and everything happens for a reason.
Yeah.
It's like this meaning versus, oh, you're going to die anyways. What's the point? It's like this empowers you. And for a majority of people, they need that.
Yep.
Yeah.
I mean, it goes back to Mere Christianity and by C.S. Lewis. Like a big thing he talked about was in a lot of the developed world, when Christianity or religion in general, but he was obviously promoting Christianity in the book. When a lot of people became irreligious or even atheist, that's when you would see a lot of problems start to arise. And a lot of it, I mean, as much as it hurts to say, I think it's fair to point out the fact that places like Canada are quickly becoming less religious. And we are seeing a lot more problems. Now, is it only because people are becoming less religious we are having these problems? No, of course not. There's a lot of reasons why there's more problems in Canada now than there was maybe 50 years ago. But I think on a spiritual and cultural level, for sure, that's one of the biggest problems is a lot of people don't believe in God anymore, or they don't believe in Jesus. And it's sad. And I think you see it a lot in young people, especially. Like, I know so many young people who they have no faith in the world. They think they have no future. They don't see the point in really trying to push themselves or try to achieve anything. They're just working, dead end jobs and saving up for the weekends so they can go party. That is like probably about half of the people I know that are my age, which is a bit sad because I personally think I've outgrown that kind of thing. But a lot of people I know who are my age or older haven't outgrown that mentality.
It's nuts, man. It's terrible.
And it's sad. I don't really blame them either. Like, I don't really fault them. I think they should try to like, it's going to sound cliched, but they should try to see, the sunny side of things. But going through life in a fog like that, I don't think it's going to lead to anything good for them, unfortunately.
Yeah. Well, I'm really happy that you found God.
Thank you.
Found Jesus.
Yeah, praise God.
And within like Japan, like, what about it? Like, was there like a core kind of memory where you were just like, were you reflecting? Did something happen? Did you meet someone?
Well, funny you said that. There's multiple situations that come to mind that maybe like brought me towards God, but I feel like everyone has their own road to Jesus, I think. And Jesus, and then the Lord works in mysterious ways. But around the time I was reading the Bible more, the train station near my town, or the city I was living in just outside of Shinjuku, I would get off and I'd have to walk to my apartment. And I remember I was reading my Bible on the train that day, and I got off the train and I heard someone singing with a guitar. It was a cover of like some Bob Dylan song, I think. And I go up and I see this guy, this white guy, just playing guitar and busking at this train station. But he wasn't busking per se because he wasn't asking for money. He was just playing music. But then I go and then I see he's wearing a cross and I listen to him sing for a little bit. And then he goes into another song, which was a hymn, but it was like some kind of a folky version of the hymn. I can't remember which hymn, to be honest with you, unfortunately. I should have asked him actually what hymn it was, but he was singing this. And I just remember like thinking it was really beautiful because he had a really nice singing voice. And we just chatted very briefly. He apparently was a missionary from America. I think he said Missouri, if I remember correctly. And he just said that he moved to Japan when he was in his 30s, and he's been doing missionary work around Asia since since like the 1990s or something like that. Like it was a long time because the guy was like old, like he was in his 50s. So we only chatted very briefly because he wanted to get back to busking, but it was, it was just a really interesting moment where I was like reading a Bible, and this happened to be the one time this guy was busking at my train station. I never saw him again. He was never busking at my train station again. So if you're out there busking religious man, I hope you're doing well.
Imagine he's listening to it right now.
That'd be kind of cool. Do you have any listeners from Japan?
Zero.
Oh, zero? Oh, okay.
Maybe one day.
Maybe one day. There we go.
Yeah, dude, it's amazing that like at that time you were reading the Bible.
Just worked out that way.
And then you came up to this guy just singing some Bob Dylan, and then he turns into a hymn, and it's just, what are the chances, right? Like what are the chances that I moved to Canada and somehow, I through all the different choices that I've made, that you've made, we work at the same company. Yep. Within the same year. The chances of that happening are so small. I'm like, this is divine intervention.
Yeah.
I think it's I've learned a lot from you, man.
I've learned a lot from you too, bro.
It's incredible, and like the level of support and kind of the information that you've given me, that you blessed me with. It's incredible, and I don't think anything happens by chance, man. I believe that everything happens for a reason, and yeah, man. And you said that you were this cringe atheist. So when people talked about God, did you like try to refute them? Did you try to
not like strangers. I was really cringy. I would only try to refute my religious friends, which I was just a dick move looking back.
Were you nice about it?
For the most part, except for my one friend who was a Jehovah's Witness. I was really mean to him.
Crap, because they're at your door, eh?
Yeah. He was a good guy. His name's Tyson. If you're out there, Tyson, miss you, bro. Hope you're doing well. He moved to BC, I believe, back when I was in like grade 7. So I haven't seen him in years, but his family was Jehovah's Witnesses, and they were very nice people. I just thought religion was cringe, and I knew that Jehovah's Witnesses were like the one that everyone would make fun of. So I think Jehovah's Witnesses are heretical personally. So I don't really like their religion, but I think they're fine people. So.
Yeah, they're good. I know. Yeah, one of my best friends, he's Jehovah's Witness.
Oh, really?
Okay. You're not allowed to wear a cross.
Yes, and they also can't celebrate birthdays, and they don't celebrate holidays.
Oh, wow.
And they don't. I think some of the subsets of Jehovah's Witnesses also don't believe in modern science. Don't quote me on that though.
Maybe my friend who's Jehovah's Witness isn't as hardcore.
Okay, because I know there's a branch of them that doesn't believe in. They believe in like healing medicine, which I'm all for praying and all that, but if you have cancer, you might want to go see a doctor.
Get that checked out.
Yeah, you could pray and everything like that, but like maybe God works in mysterious ways. I'm sure he gave man the ability to treat cancer for a reason.
Yeah, and you don't know everything, right?
Yeah, exactly.
When I came across someone who's really preaching their religion, and I was just feeling I didn't really do it every time, but when I did, I was like, I asked all the really smart ones, or at least at that time, and like, oh, why did this 7-year-old get cancer, and why did this family get bombed, and why is war happening? And dude, it's so easy to be negative, even aside from religion. Like, yeah, why this, why that? Like, nobody has all the answers, dude. Like,
That's true.
Things shit happens. And I think that a lot of atheists do that, where they go, oh yeah, it's just, why did this happen? Why did that? They're all rhetorical.
Oh yeah.
Right, to them, because no matter what you say, you can't win. Right?
That's true, yeah.
You'll only truly change someone's mind if they ask for advice and maybe a different perspective. And you have to internalize that, because there's no proof, dude. Yeah. There's no proof in faith. And that's what makes it so beautiful.
That's why it's faith.
Yeah, that's why it's faith. Yeah. And I'd even argue that science is faith. There's no, you're creating all these kind of evidence for something that you think may have, it could be a possibility.
Yeah. And also a thing that a lot of those people I think seem to forget, a lot of the hardcore atheists that might worship science, is they seem to forget that like all of the original scientists that made these discoveries were religious in one way or another. Like Isaac Newton was a Christian. He was a Lutheran, I think, if I'm not mistaken, or he was a Catholic. One of the two.
The guy who made the Big Bang theory.
He was religious. Who was that? Was that Thomas? No, that wasn't Thomas Edison. Thomas Edison was a Christian. He was the electricity guy. or the light bulb guy. There's and then also, not to mention, like everything in math basically was Muslims. Like a lot of mathematicians that created all the things we use today. Like, I mean, like pi, wasn't pi a Muslim guy? I'm not a scholar. Sure. I'm not a scholar, but I remember learning that a lot of Muslims helped with math. So
yeah.
Oh, and then the Pythagorean theorem, like that was a guy, right?
Yeah.
Wasn't he Christian? Maybe I'm speaking out of my ass right now, but there was a lot of Christians in the scientific world.
It's true. They made up the foundation of
absolutely
science. Yeah,
absolutely.
How do you integrate spirituality into your everyday routine?
Well, yeah, that's a great question. I try to read the Bible when I can. I don't read it every day. I'm not going to be one of those people that claims that. Also, I feel like a lot of people that claim they read the Bible every day probably don't. It's just the feeling I get. Anyways, so that wasn't me. That's not me attacking you, Advin. Sorry.
I used to. Okay. But,
my point exactly.
Yeah, man, but it's hard to understand.
Yeah.
It's
I also just don't want to read
English.
it and not be paying attention. You know what I mean? I don't want to like do it in the background. You know what I mean? Like I don't want to be zoned out.
You want to be like fully there.
Yeah, I want to like just not have my phone on me. I want to be able to just focus and read some Bible verses. But I try to read the Bible when I can. I make an effort to do it at least a few times a month. I go to church when I can. I just moved back from Calgary, so I was trying to find a new church, but then now I'm moving to Ontario with my wife briefly. So a lot of back and forth. So I don't really have a consistent church anymore. But back when I was in Calgary, I had a church that I went to as much as I could. It was a wonderful church, St. Andrew's in Calgary. Wonderful people, wonderful Anglican church. And then also like I try to like just appreciate things in a spiritual Christian way, if that makes any sense. Sometimes I'll just try to like this is cringy, but I try to think about like how would Jesus view some of my actions.
That's not cringy at all, man. That's like with the archetype
fair,
that is Jesus. He's the only,
I should have more pride than that. You're right.
He's the only perfect being.
That's fair.
You know that, and we should all try to aspire to be like him.
Yeah.
I mean, I always have this thing where when I'm lifting or when I'm doing something difficult, because usually the right thing and the hard thing go hand in hand.
Yeah.
You know, usually when something is easy and something is given, usually you didn't really work for it. You know, it's just maybe you turned on the TV, watched some Netflix. You didn't really have to grind your way out. You didn't really have to have those tough talks.
Yeah.
And usually the easy things, they're not worth having. But the hard things where you go to the gym, you have a fulfilling relationship, you stay away from drugs and alcohol, or maybe in moderation, right? You make sure you have a system. You sacrifice for other people. You go out of your way to help a friend in need.
Mm-hmm.
You make that phone call, even though it's uncomfortable. And Jesus was chastised. He was people made up lies, and he's
crucified,
nailed to a
right?
cross. Yeah, which is one of the most horrific ways to go out. And
it's brutal.
He still had all the love in his heart, which is what I'm trying to aspire to. Which actually, I've talked to this one person who just didn't really like me, and I could felt it. It was palpable, and I don't know. I really wanted to cast hate and fight back and ridicule them in my head.
Yeah,
but found Jesus. What would Jesus do?
Yeah,
he would just try to turn the other cheek. You know, that's like a very cliche now, but it's like really the epitome of being a fulfilled human being and following the faith truly. Because there's a lot of Christians out there who are definitely not following the faith, no matter how many times they're going to church.
Yeah, it's true.
Forgive, love others. It's so simple. You don't even really need to read the Bible, to follow the Christian teachings. Just love others, do what Jesus did for all the strippers and drug dealers, right? Because Jesus hung around with those people, man.
He he let a prostitute wash his feet? Yeah, which was seen as like a big deal back then. Yeah.
He let people in of all sorts of backgrounds, and that's what I'm trying to do. what I'm trying to aspire to. It's hard, because somebody does one thing, you're like, fuck off, like fuck, I don't want to.
Yeah.
I don't have to deal with your shit,
That's fair.
But then you're like, wait, this is just another human being. They're going through shit.
Yeah,
you only live once.
Makes sense.
With marriage, how has marriage changed the way you see partnership and commitments? Gotta know, in high school you were a massive stud, eh?
We don't need to go into that.
Right. This guy, man, he's good.
Okay.
Pickup artist.
Thank you, Edvin. For the audience, I got married in July to a wonderful person. Her name's Carolyn. She's from Slave Lake originally, but her family moved to Edmonton. She's half Filipina. So she's half you, Advin. Yeah. So that's a weird way of putting it. She's half Filipino, dude, like you,
Filipinos,
Advin.
Man, we connect.
They get around, yeah.
Like what's it called? We just have that frequency, bro.
Oh yeah, for sure.
I don't know if you've ever seen it in action, but does she still like try to connect with the roots?
She's connected. Food? Well, yes, the food for sure,
food and like the language. She's
not so much the language. I mean, she likes the food, and she's aware of like the cultural customs. She connects more with her dad's side of the family's culture, I think, because her dad's side of the family is Ukrainian, like mostly Ukrainian. So she's got a lot of connections to that specifically. But yeah, no, she definitely does have some connections for sure. Her grandmother is her grandmother's first language is Tagalog, and her mom like can speak a little bit and understand it. So, but Carolyn doesn't speak any of it yet. Although she said someday she wouldn't mind like learning a bit more, learning some of the language.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, we got married and it was wonderful.
Yeah.
And
congratulations, man.
I appreciate it. Thank you. I think the biggest thing was like, I just, once you know, like I had no doubts in my heart that the person that I wanted to marry was Carolyn, and I just felt like, you know what, like I wasn't gonna find someone better than her. That was the biggest thing I realized was there's no shot I was gonna find someone better than her. Not that another thing I realized was I didn't want to find someone better than her too, because I just wanted her.
It's incredible,
and,
man.
Yeah, it's a good feeling, and I think a lot of people view marriage really negatively now, and I used to be one of those people for sure, back in my cringy atheist days. But I think once you find someone who you can see yourself marrying, like your opinion on marriage just changes. And it's great. It's great. I enjoy being married. So we have a long road ahead of us, of course, and there's a lot of things that are coming up that we'll have to figure out. I mean, she's still in school, so that's obviously a big factor. But yeah, we're gonna. When you care about something, you figure it out. I think that's the most important thing.
Well, you guys are incredibly blessed to have each other, and I think her having a Ukrainian side and Filipino side as well, and you're really into the learning about other cultures. Going to Japan, I feel like it's a perfect fit, because you're just like you're learning and also connecting, and you guys have the same beliefs. And it's I think this is just the beginning of something so beautiful. I think later on, the decades later, I think you guys will do something amazing.
I certainly hope so. That's for sure.
How do you know when it's the one? Like, is it like a feeling, or is it just based on all the iterations before? This is it? Because like, I feel like, I don't know, I've never really had that feeling of, like, I guess I've only really had one girlfriend of like 3 years.
Yeah.
But like, how do you know? Like, is it in a dream, or is it like
I think the best way I could describe it is just like when you know, which I know isn't really explaining anything. And I know that's like, I think a lot of people would describe it like that. We just like got along really well. We met on Hinge, the app that's meant to be deleted. Which is really funny.
And you guys deleted it.
We did delete it. Yes, we did delete it. I just from the get-go, I had a really good feeling about her. And as time went on, it was just amazing. We did long distance while I was in Japan, and we made it work, and it was incredible. And just, we've been together for a little over 2 years now, and we've been married for not quite a month, but it's just been good. And I think a lot of people now don't want to commit to things. That's what I notice. A lot of younger people, just they feel like they want to keep their options open. But I feel like a lot of the time that's not necessarily the way people should be living. I mean, I certainly think it's beneficial to get married, especially if you know it's the person you want to marry. And constantly like wanting to keep your options open and second guessing yourself might not be a great way to live. I feel like a lot of people avoid getting married just because they're afraid, to be honest with you, which I can understand some of the fear, but I just think at a certain point people need to just try and like ignore what's around them and just focus on what matters, and that's probably finding someone to marry.
Well, the upside of never trying is never having to feel the pain of failure. I think a lot of men.
Well, then you're a wimp.
Yeah, no, exactly. A lot of men won't ask that girl out because, oh, what if she says no? A lot of men won't go work because, oh, what if I get fired? And a lot of people are kind of following that trajectory of, yeah, it's just
they're neats now.
We're all gonna die anyways, right? And it's just so
they're just delaying
sad.
their lives.
Yeah, it's so sad because you're capable. I think every single person, if you do the work, if you reflect on what you truly want, you will find that person, or you will find your role eventually. Because throughout just living, right, you will find the person. Or even if you don't find a person, you will find your purpose.
Hopefully.
Yeah. Hopefully. Maybe you don't ever find your purpose, but at least you tried. And I think for the majority of people, if you just try, if you just give it some effort,
I wonder if and this is probably, I sound like a boomer when I talk like this, but I wonder if social media has a lot to do with a lot of the skepticism around just getting married and committing to relationships. Because how many people go on Instagram and just compare their lives to other people all the time, 24/7. I'm telling you, man, one of the best decisions I ever made was deleting Instagram, because I do not do that anymore. I used to do it a little bit. I was never as bad as some people, but once I deleted Instagram, I just didn't give a shit anymore. I just wanted to do my own thing, and that was one of the better decisions I made for sure. Yeah.
Good for you, dude. I find when I'm on social media a lot, my mental health isn't as optimal. And I mean, I'm always on social media. I'm into the podcast. I'm posting
24/7, 365.
I'm posting 3 shorts a week.
Absolutely.
But it's more of a creative outlet.
Yeah.
So I actually feel rejuvenated when I just use it as a creative outlet.
Yeah.
But if I use it as a consumer, where I go through everyone's lives and I'm like, oh, Julie's doing this. Oh, Mark's doing that. Devin's doing this. And
Steven and Molly are both in Bali right now.
Yeah.
Why can't I be in Bali right now?
Yeah. In the reality, they could have a relationship that is abundant in fights. And they could
be rolling in debt,
Yeah, exactly.
They could be buried in debt and on the verge of losing everything.
Yeah, but your brain doesn't.
But you don't see that.
Yeah.
And you're like, oh, they're clearly doing something better than me because they're on this trip right now.
Yeah.
Even if the fact is, most people you see on social media who are doing that stuff are probably faking it. That's just a reality.
Yeah.
Have you ever watched it's Scumbag Dad? He's a TikTok guy. He does a lot of skits about society. And one of the things he did was he did a whole mini series about these stupid skits that were showing how easy it is to fake being wealthy. And he did all the stuff. He rented a private jet to film himself on a private jet. He went to really expensive restaurants, but then only ordered really cheap things just to show off that he was in a fancy restaurant and stuff like that. And he's not my cup of tea, but I thought that little series he did was funny.
I bet I'll have to check him out. Scumbag Dad?
Yeah, Scumbag Dad. I'm pretty sure that's his name. He might have changed his name now, but back then it was Scumbag Dad.
That reminds me of, do you know Furious Pete? He's a Canadian. He does, he used to be really, really big back in the day. And he did food eating contests, and he held many Guinness World Records for eating the fastest pizza of a certain circumference. And he made this one video because he's also a bodybuilder, and he had this before and after picture. You know those when people are trying to lose weight and there's like an ad, like, oh, before he was like, it's like a fat guy, and then after it's like this buff guy. But so in the video, it was all filmed in one day.
Oh wow.
And so for the before pic, he did the after pic first. So he hit the gym, he got really pumped up, did a bunch of push-ups. He put on a bunch of oil on himself.
Oh God.
And he looked really pumped up and he looked really muscular because he did do a lot of lifting. And he made sure the lighting was there.
Yeah.
And he took the photo and he looked great. Then he got a bunch of Diet Coke, bunch of chips, made sure that the lighting for the picture was all like low and
terrible.
Terrible. The angle was terrible. And he took that one and he just looked really fat. And so he put the before and after close together, and this is all in the same day, and it looked like an entirely different person.
Oh yeah.
So in certain angles, your life, your body could be phenomenal, could be the best thing in the world.
Oh yeah.
But in reality,
you're more normal.
Yeah, you're normal.
Yeah, you're a normal person with normal bodies.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, not everyone has as regimented of a gym schedule as you, Advin.
Oh man, that's the only thing keeping me alive.
The only thing keeping me going. It's all I have.
Oh, dude. What's one lesson you've learned about communication in marriage so far?
I've only been married for not even a month yet, but I think just like
I guess in the relationship,
try just being honest in ways that aren't hurtful. I think that's huge. Like always being real with each other. But not always like too real. You don't want to be real all the time and then cause hurt feelings when you don't need to.
I'm so honest all the time. I'm just going to tell you every negative thought that comes up.
You shouldn't, for the guys out there, don't tell your girlfriend she looks fat ever. Like, not that I ever did that for the record, but like, just don't do that. So I'm, just be honest though. Just love each other, just trust each other. Have faith that the person's not going to be terrible to you. I think a lot of like social media also blows up like the bad stories too. Like I've met very few couples where one person cheated on the other. Like I think I've known like one or two couples like that, and I've known a lot of couples in my life. And I feel like a lot of guys I know are just so worried about getting cheated on that they feel like they can't even try to date a girl. Which maybe get off 4chan for half an hour and touch some grass, man. I think you'll be okay. Trust me.
Yeah, where do you think that comes from?
I think it's like a lot of just insecurity, which maybe in some cases it's warranted, but I think a lot of it just comes from deep-seated trauma and other issues.
Have you ever heard of red pill?
Oh God, we're going down an interesting.
No, I don't want to go down that road. But
yes, I have heard of the red pill.
But I'm just like for the listeners that don't know what red pill is, it's essentially men going on their own way. It's like MGTOW is the acronym.
MGTOW. Are you a MGTOW, Advin? Have you gone your own way?
No, but I used to subscribe to the MGTOW people because it was funny. And when you watch something over and over just for the fun of it, it becomes you and you start thinking that way.
Absolutely.
And so I was just like,
you're in an echo chamber,
Yeah. So, but for men that get hurt, right? Let's say you go through your first breakup and you search online how to get over my ex. And then you see this popular video with like 2 million views and it's telling you that all women, including your mother and sister, that's what they
are
say.
Whores.
No, exactly. That's not even, dude. That's
what
not
they
even.
say,
that's what they say. And there's this one guy, and he's like, "Oh yeah, she's not picking up the phone. She's probably with another guy, sucking him off. She didn't respond to that text as soon as she could, and she's
probably cheated on you.
She's at the doctor's." She's probably in bed with the doctor.
Meanwhile, it's like, no, her doctor's female and she just had to go get a checkup. Or she was at work and couldn't be on her phone.
The charger, or she
or like, she was having coffee with her mom and she wasn't on her phone.
No, exactly. A lot of people that experience that when they're hurt, they get sucked into that vortex, and it's terrible because I've read some of these comments, and even sometimes when I'm bored, I'll go on the subreddit at pretty
Go
sure
on the MGTOW subreddit.
sometimes I'll go on
Dude.
like the furry subreddit sometimes.
Sorry,
and
the furry subreddit?
Yeah, it's not because I'm a furry. It's just like entertaining, you know.
Advin just admitted he was a furry.
I'm a furry,
guys.
and I'm a MGTOW.
Oh, that is an interesting combination. Are you allowed to be both those at
I
once?
don't think you can, but I'm bet you there's probably
Advin
someone.
is the first furry MGTOW man.
Can you imagine if you're like you take off your
If you were a
your
furry,
costume?
what would your outfit be? Like, what would
Probably
your
have, like-
persona be? Actually, it's a
Probably-
persona.
Maybe I'd hit the gym with the furry outfit.
Okay, but
Yeah.
what that is
Persona?
hilarious. But what would your persona be, and what would your animal spirit be, or whatever it is?
That's a thing.
Yeah, that's what it is. It's not a costume. Actually, I think it's offensive to refer to it as
Maybe
a costume.
like a lone wolf.
A lone wolf.
Oh wait, maybe an extroverted wolf. Okay,
an
maybe the opposite.
extroverted wolf. What's your
Yeah.
wolf name
But-
as a furry?
Furry, probably like Moon Lord.
Moon. Okay, what's your last name?
Lord.
Moon Lord. Moon Lord, the outgoing wolf.
Could you imagine?
Dude, honestly, if this podcast blows up, you have to do at least one episode in a furry outfit. You
Furry
have
outfit,
to.
man. Or invite a furry guest.
Dude, you know, if you became a successful podcaster and you could write this off as a business, you could buy a furry costume and write that off in your
Good.
taxes.
Yeah, dude. Everything could be a business, man. you know?
Business expense, absolutely. But
Yeah.
you have to do that just to say you did.
Yeah. Do you do your own taxes?
No, I have my grandparents have a retired friend who does it for me for like a small fee. Yeah. Are you just trying to pivot from the furry talk right now? Is that what
No,
you asked
man.
me about
I love
taxes?
the furry talk. I was gonna have a little route there to the furry and the taxes. Then
yes.
No. I'm trying to pivot away. You caught me.
It caught you.
So, dude, yeah. So, what advice would you give to someone preparing for marriage?
Okay. Preparing for marriage, I
know you were really smart about it.
How so?
I mean, money wise, like a lot of.
Oh yeah. Oh, that's what you're talking about. Yeah. No, we had a very cheap wedding. We didn't spend that much, although it was still pricey. I mean, I ended up spending about $3,500 of my own money. I'll have to double check the numbers, but it was around that much. And but her parents and my parents chipped in a lot. Although I think it wasn't that expensive, and we also went on a very cheap honeymoon. We went to Slave Lake, just up north. Wonderful place to the audience. Go to Slave Lake if you haven't been. We went there for our honeymoon, and that was really nice. It was cheap. The whole weekend cost us like $500, so it wasn't that bad. It was just a good time, you know. I feel like, you know, like weddings don't need to be this giant extravagant thing, you know.
Yeah, I know many people that have dropped like 50 grand.
That's crazy.
Almost 100 grand.
It's crazy.
And that's like way.
Dude, that's like a third of a down payment on a house. That's like 30% of a fucking mortgage right there. That's crazy.
Yeah, but that's someone's entire income for a full year.
Yeah,
You know?
no, that's crazy. That's absolutely insane. Maybe not 30%. The housing market's pretty bad in Canada. Maybe that's a solid, depending on what house
A
you
fifth.
want. That's like a solid, you know, quarter, maybe fifth,
Yeah.
probably more like a fifth actually.
Yeah, dude.
Still, I'd rather use that on a house.
Yeah. So, what is one thing that you realized after getting married that you didn't realize before? Does that make sense?
Yeah, no, I hear you.
Like, I feel like when you enter a new chapter, 'cause I feel
Mhm.
like this is a clear chapter that
Mhm.
you've entered in. Is there kind of like an idea that came into fruition after?
It felt I just how natural it felt. Like I felt good afterwards. Just felt nice being married. I mean, it was just like I felt normal. It was like it just felt right. I went about the rest of my days after we got married, and I felt pretty good. I had a bit more of is it a spring in my step? Is that how the expression goes? I had a little bit more. I walked a little bit straighter afterwards. You know what I mean? It was just felt really good. Yeah, and maybe after like 10, 20 years, I'll have a better answer to that. But right now, I just say it felt right. Felt good.
Yeah. I mean, it is the long-term podcast,
Yeah.
so we'll have to have you on sometime next year again.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I would not be against that at all.
Yeah, dude. I saw you last time, or I guess prior to you coming back. You seemed, and I felt like the Devin that I was talking to prior to Japan was less confident.
Oh, really?
You know, like you didn't really know yourself. But after you got back, you seemed a lot more confident. You seem a lot happier. You seem like you're yourself more. You like being in your own skin. Like, how do you approach confidence? Like, was that something that you had to really rewire in your brain, or?
Not particularly.
Mhm.
I appreciate you noticing that. I felt pretty confident before I left for Japan, but
Of course.
I think my experience in Japan definitely humbled me. Like I did have some hardships while I was in Japan. My apartment flooded actually, and I had to deal with that. I had amazing help from my boss actually at my school I was working at, but dealing with a flooding apartment in a country where you don't speak the language is a little stressful. That was one big thing I had to figure out and come to terms with, and it was really good. I felt really good after I got through that, because I was like, oh man, if I can get through my apartment to flooding and navigating Japanese bureaucracy when I don't speak the language, like, oh, I can get through anything. Then I came back from Japan and I worked in Calgary for a year. It was, I worked as a music teacher, and it was tough. But I feel like I learned a lot about myself working a really brutal job.
Yeah, you told me the kids were relentless.
I'll refrain from giving too much away at the, in case someone I worked with hears this or a parent hears this. But let's just say it was a tough school, and it made me think a lot about what I wanted to do with my life. And yeah, I feel like just as time goes on, you experience more things, naturally you will become more confident in yourself. Like a lot has happened in my life the last 2 years, and I just feel like, I've grown a lot, I think, and I appreciate you noticing it. Thank you. I think you've grown a lot too.
Thank you, man.
No worries. No worries.
Yeah, this podcast didn't exist.
It's crazy. I think you started this right after I left, actually. Yeah, that was crazy.
And then I was texting you back and forth here and there. In Japan, you were sending me some pictures.
Yeah, I sent you some photos. Yeah. Early on, I sent you some photos. Yeah.
But yeah, dude, I think this is only the beginning to, we're still so young, and I think there's still so many opportunities out there. And I think you have a very powerful mind, and I think
thank you.
It's very hard to come by. And if you do want to pursue teaching still, I think it would be good for you to relay the message of your faith and your experiences to the next generation. But if not, I think you'll find something better.
Yeah.
Anyway, so
yeah, appreciate that. I mean, we'll see what happens. I love teaching in Japan, but teaching in Calgary wasn't the greatest. We'll see what happens. I told you this off the podcast, but I'm thinking about maybe getting into the trades for a little bit, earn some big money, and maybe try and settle down with my wife after she finishes school, and then I'll see where teaching is. Maybe I'll go back. Maybe I'll do something else. Who knows?
Yeah, who knows? But
who knows?
You got your degree. There's something to lean back on.
That's how I look at it. You know what? I already made enough money to pay the degree back. I had no student loans after school, but I made enough to like justify the cost of the degree at least. And the year in Japan made it worth it in a lot of ways too. So,
and then even like dealing with the kids, as much of, maybe you dealt with shitheads, it teaches you about patience. It teaches you about what you want.
Yeah. It made me realize that like a lot of parents don't really parent anymore.
Yeah. And maybe you can be a lot more cognizant of which schools you select.
That's also a fact. Yeah.
But yeah, dude, thank you so much for coming on the long-term podcast.
Not a problem. My pleasure, Advin. Thanks for having me on, man.
Yeah, this is great. I can't wait for what the future has to hold for you.
Absolutely. Yeah. And if I would love to come back on in the future if we're both available to do it. So yeah.
And do you have any last words for people who may be struggling out there and they want to give up, they lack purpose?
Yeah, for sure. Go to church, find God, preferably Jesus, but any God is probably fine. Jesus first though, of course, Christ is King. I would also, get married, delete social media, at least for a little while, and keep your head up and try your best.
Yeah. Thank you so much, man. And
my pleasure.
As always, to everyone listening and watching, there is a place for you in this chaotic world. Never lose hope. Strengthen your faith and keep it long term. Devin, Doherty, everyone. Peace.
Brother. Awesome. That was great.
Thank brother.
That was a lot of fun.
Take a picture of you in that.
Sure. Do I keep the microphone in front of me or?
Yeah.
Okay, sure. Is this the thumbnail?
This is the Instagram.
The Instagram.